Welcome to the PreSales Podcast. I'm Mattie Stremic, and I'm hosting our brand new series on becoming a world-class solutions consultant. In this 6-part series, we'll unpack real-life stories and get actionable insights from pre-sales leaders, managers, and ICs that know what it means to go above and beyond in their pre-sales and solution roles.
Hi there, my name is Yuji Higashi, co-founder of PreSales Collective, and I have big news to share with you if you're a pre-sales leader or an individual contributor early in your career. We recently launched 2 training and enablement programs aimed at helping you take your career to the next level. Both programs were created by pre-sales leaders with input from dozens of SC veterans across our community. Now, we'll be running cohorts each month, so if you're interested in participating, visit us at presalescollective.com/enablement to submit an inquiry, and we'll send you details about each program, including this curriculum and schedule. We look forward to working with you on growing your career and being part of your career journey. Thank you, and I hope to see you soon.
Hey, PreSales Collective, we're back with the final episode of our Becoming a World-Class Solutions Consultant series. And today I'm here with Sidney Gomez, who's the Director of Solutions Consulting at 6 Sense, to talk about mentoring and coaching others. Welcome to the PreSales Podcast, Sidney. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you today?
I'm doing really good. I've really been enjoying our conversation about Star Wars the last few minutes.
No spoilers.
No spoilers. But more importantly, I'm so excited to talk to you about mentoring and coaching and investing in others, which is the end of our 6-part series on becoming a world-class SE. So very excited to end with your podcast. But why don't we give our listeners a little bit of background into your pre-sales journey? How did you end up in pre-sales?
So first and foremost, thanks for having me today. I love the topic of coaching, mentoring others, because that's really how I got to where I am today. And I would say this crazy journey of almost a decade hasn't even just been a village. It's probably a country of people coaching, mentoring, and just honestly believing in me to let me know about opportunities I never would have known about for myself. I really got my start in the beginning of the social media marketing days, which was a fun time to be a college student, because people would just say, I don't really know how this works. Can you figure it out? And social and Facebook, right? That really evolved and just helped me grow so many skills when I started as a community manager at Spreadfast. And all I had ever known in college was really traditional roles like marketing, accounting, engineering. You want to go be a doctor. And when I got into tech, I realized there's a whole world that they don't really teach you about, at least when I was in school, in college. And I just said, where can I learn? And I honestly couldn't get enough. So I bounced around a lot at Spreadfast and had opportunities to manage a team for the first time as a 23-year-old. Would maybe not recommend that. Also did online in-person trainings, helped start a new team from scratch in a product coaching capacity, and learned a lot from so many different people at Spreadfast who are incredibly smart. The visibility that I got in that world really helped to establish myself. And Chris Brown actually reached out to me, and he's very popular and famous, and actually encouraged me to do this podcast for PreSales Collective. So thank you, Chris. But he basically was like, I think you would love pre-sales, and I think you should join the team. My first response was absolutely not. It's really funny to think about now in hindsight, because the more I talked to a lot of people on the team I respected, like Courtney Doman, Megan Marriott, I just learned that this is such an amazing space to be with the team, people, processes, and the pure joy of supporting and winning and the emotional roller coaster that comes with it too. I honestly wouldn't have ever saw that in myself. And having someone coach me and identify those skills, and having so many people believe in me that I could do this role and even know about it, just very thankful to be here.
I love that, the mentorship and coaching that you received was so integral to your actual pivot into pre-sales from what you've done historically. I think that's incredible. And I think that's true for a lot of folks. What would you say is kind of the benefits of investing in others? If we're kind of bucketing both mentorship and coaching under one, it would be investing in others. So what's the benefit of that on the other side?
Honestly, I am obsessed with progress. I have a sticky note on my computer that's progress, not perfection. For me, it's all about growth for that person and for yourself. My best days on the job are ones where I got to deliver news for folks on my team that they got promoted to the next level, whether that was to a senior role, to a management role, because that's something for me, I invested with them and want to see for them. And when it happens and we grow together, it's just such a rewarding piece to know how hard someone's working and see that in them and have them see it in themselves too. I think the other piece for me in investing in others is that it helps me grow myself. So a lot of times people are reflecting things in me that I struggle with. And I have to figure out and get really meta with myself about, okay, what would I need? And then I have to push that aside and say, what would they need? And also be vulnerable and say, this is what I've done to overcome those things in the past when I'm in this exact place, and kind of go to that area. But then also be a foil to them and identify, hey, here are my contrasts and ways that I have a strength that can help you. And how rewarding that we have so many unique people and perspectives to be able to do that for each other.
Absolutely. I love that you brought up that investing in others also helps you grow. I know for me personally, I'm kind of in a unique position with my role where I get to help coach career changers and coach a lot of demos. And I will say that watching others and coaching others on their demos and presentations has helped me probably tenfold increase, my skills, my awareness, just based off of those conversations and identifying areas of growth in them, often identifying where I need to grow as well.
Absolutely. I feel like the best pre-sales folks are the best copycats too, or improvisers, if you will.
So how do you differentiate between maybe coaching and mentorship if we were going to kind of break it apart?
This is such an interesting concept to me because I think sometimes we can use it interchangeably, but there is some distinction to me. And I would say anyone can be a mentor, and those evolutions continue to flow. So my first boss at 6 Cents, shout out to my girl, Allie Goldner. She's now my mentor at 6 Cents. And I can chat through what I'm going through. We strategize. We talk about my growth as an SE leader together. And we help, honestly, each other to say, where are our teams struggling? Where are we struggling? And how can we really help and support? But honestly, she was coaching me as my manager first and holding me accountable and building that trust and environment where I felt safe and gave me the way that I could then go to my team when I became a leader. I think it really ebbs and flows, but to me, coaching is a little bit of an important distinction because it isn't about being on the playing field with someone. It's not being a captain, right? Like a mentor can be a captain. It's really seeing the full picture, how things are flowing. And I'd say there's a higher amount of accountability and potentially even tougher conversations when we're not on the right track or coaching people to get to where they want to be and get to the next level. So I'm watching Ted Lasso right now, right? He has this team and he has to make sure that they get wins. In the Premier League, I'm a soccer fan. I love Arsenal, but we all make up a component of that. And every person on his team has things that they are struggling with individually and on the field. And it takes a coach to really know how everything works together and the pieces that we want to put together in order to get the best result. And that can change for each game, for each season, for each person. And so it's really making sure that you have that investment and care in people to really go that extra mile of coaching, I would say.
You mentioned kind of with coaching, there's more tough conversations. Is that typically when there's more maybe specific feedback given versus in a mentorship role being a little bit more loose?
I feel like with coaching, the best quote that I ever heard from Brene Brown that I always come to with coaching my team is clear is kind, unclear is unkind. And I feel like with coaching, there is this end goal that we want to get to. So getting the best demo, getting a win, correcting behavior and rewarding behavior too, right? Like in bringing out strengths. In mentorship, I feel like we often think about that for like my career pathing and my opportunities and thinking holistically, how am I doing? And that can be reflected in so many different places and people. Whereas coaching, I feel, is very much more like on the ground performance overall.
That makes a lot of sense. I loved that quote that you brought up by Brene Brown, who I absolutely adore. I feel like I love everything that she says. But you mentioned that that's a quote that you use with your team. So how do you personally approach coaching and mentorship with your team?
So first and foremost, when I think about personal development, it's mine. I get to feel empowered to shape it. And that's an important aspect to remember because I think we tend to forget that component. Often I have people come to me and ask, hey, give me feedback. Where do you see me going? And my question is always, where do you want to go? We don't have to etch that in stone, right? That's not the whole point of the exercise. When I started at Sixth Sense, I said, hey, I'm interested in a couple of different paths of growth. And I'd like to work with you, my manager, on giving me opportunities to suss out both, give me feedback along the way about how you think it's going. And let's just have an open dialogue and communication. And so it's really about manifesting and putting it out there, even when it's not perfect, then working with your boss to shape it and help you along that journey. And honestly, I'm so lucky to have had incredible bosses. My current one, Scott, really gives me so much autonomy to shape where I want to be, gives me projects that allow me to have visibility at the entire company, and redirects me when I inevitably do too much as well.
People-centric and personalized to the individual. I love that approach. So we've talked a lot about your style in the context of management. What about for ICs, ones that maybe want to go above and beyond in their role? How can they approach maybe investing in others, whether that's mentorship or coaching?
I love this question because one, I started as an individual contributor myself and moved into a management role and got to see that progression. But I actually also got to see that in someone on my team. So Mitch on my team is a perfect example of going from a mentor on the team to a coach and someone that I really think about that IC manager progression and the shift in him and his approach for how he comes to his work. He was the first person that we hired on my team. I got to snag him from the existing one in order to build it out. And early on, he was like, I think I want to be a manager. And I love helping people. And so we said, cool, we're going to hire a ton of people in the next year. You can mentor them. So what are you learning about in your opportunities? What are the pitfalls? Where are you finding success? And then as time progressed, he started to see, okay, here's the larger picture. And how do I make sure that as I'm transitioning into a manager, it's not necessarily just about deal mentorship. It's about maybe having tougher conversations and holding people accountable and making sure that we aren't just always fluffy, which is the hard part about management that I think we don't talk about enough. It's really a shift in mentoring is helping, yes. But then when we go into management, it's about performance. And how do you find that really good balance? And so for him, it's been really fun to see his evolution as his coach, mentor, manager, whatever you want to call me now. That's just an example of why making that impact matters and kind of helping him progress through that too.
I love one thing in particular about that story in that Mitch came to you and said, I want this in my future, which I think shows a lot of the intentionality that this entire series has been about. So if you want to become a world-class SE, whether that's a leader or an IC, it is about that intentionality and not just passively showing up to work and just doing the role. So I really love that example. How has mentoring others and coaching others really accelerated your growth as a leader?
It's really taught me a lot about my own gaps and opportunities too. When I first started to be a manager, I thought it was just mentoring. I thought it was just, hey, let me do career pathing. And that's where I always wanted to focus. And then it became, honestly, some hard things along the way around performance management and tough conversations. And as pre-sales leaders, we aren't just responsible for our team to some extent, right? We're responsible for that relationship with AEs, with CSMs, with product. And so honestly, I think over the last year, I've had to learn a lot about boundaries and balance. Thank you, Brene. But also just how do we lean in effectively and prioritize different activations? So within that conversation, for me, it's just been really making sure that I'm constantly thinking about the bigger picture.
So when we think about coaching and mentoring within the context of a pre-sales role, what are those activities that you find are most important to kind of focus on?
One thing that I just need to say is we should not give compliment sandwiches.
But they're my favorite, Sidney. I need them.
Because it's very confusing, right? And it's easy as the person giving the feedback to say, this is what you did really well. And this is kind of what we want to fix. But hey, keep up the great work. Great job. I want to be the manager that I want for myself. And if I come out of getting that feedback, I think I nailed it. I don't know. I'm really confused. And so I think effective mentorship and coaching, I think about it in 2 points. One, how do I make sure that I'm prioritizing opportunities for growth? Meaning, if I give 7 things to someone that they need to correct from this demo or this call, how much adoption am I going to get of that? And this is something I learned from Chris. He was like, early on, it's 3 things. What are 3 big themes that we can take away to learn and grow each new demo? And so sometimes it's going to just be open questions as a theme, demo flow, and then maybe one nitpick thing that's like, hey, this is wrong in the product that needs to be immediately corrected, right? But then the second piece too, we always do glows and grows, and we have it as separate sections of the feedback. And this is all kind of demo specific. I'll get larger in a moment, but we do, here are all of the glows that you had. And we really make sure to play that up and build the trust and make sure that they know that they are crushing things, right? Because everyone has, again, a strength that they're bringing to the table. And then we say, what glows do you think you had? And then we move, okay, let's now get into grows so we can compartmentalize. Because when we just throw the kitchen sink at people, we're not going to get a lot of growth from that motion, right? And so again, I think with feedback, that was kind of demo specific, but in general, it's like, what are themes that we need to correct? And what are themes that we want to continue? And making sure that we give space for both of those, but not compliment sandwiches. The larger career pathing and mentoring and pre-sales is what's important to the business? What's important to my team and my segment right now, for me at least, right? It's we need to get business. We need to get business in the door in commercial. So first and foremost, how are we winning and losing and sharing all of those different components in a safe space in our team meetings to really focus and learn from each other? again, like I consider everyone on my team to be a mentor in some capacity because they are all experiencing different things and they can now come and share with the team and say, this is what's working and what's not. And then we can say, okay, well, what's not working? How do we want to correct that together? It's really making sure that we're laddering up to those larger pieces. And honestly, that's a lot of consistent enablement, accountability, reinforcement. And then from there, it's if I know what I'm trying to do for the business and for the SE team, it's easy for me to back into that.
I feel like there was so much there to unpack, but one thing I want to kind of revisit is your approach to actually giving feedback, throwing out the compliment sandwich, but going back to your point as far as that clear feedback is actually kind. And I can think when I first started as a sales engineer, that some of the feedback I would get was, you're a little nervous, like, oh, were you nervous? Or things that were a little bit vague and it wasn't very direct. And I didn't feel like I had a good path forward. So I love that approach because I think not all feedback is effective feedback and not all coaching is effective coaching. And it's actually important that we all learn, if we're coaching others, how to give effective coaching in a way that's going to not necessarily demoralize someone, but empower them to actually improve over time.
We had a training here that I take with me all the time, which is observe, impact, and depending on the situation, it could be help me understand or corrective. So maybe the first time you say it, it's, hey, I've observed that in demos, you are asking a lot of closed questions. The impact of that is you're not getting a lot of information from your prospect or customer that would help you get information. And here are a couple of points where I saw that. Help me understand what type of enablement we can have here for opportunities to learn more. And then if the second time it's, hey, corrective, right? It's, what are you going to do to incorporate more open questions in demos?
I love that. What an incredible framework. It's definitely something I'm going to jot down. As we think about individuals that would like to go and mentor, kind of raise their hand, mentor and or coach within their organization, what advice do you have for those kind of folks that are trying to begin or start?
We had an exciting kickoff speaker. Her name was Michelle Poehler. She actually did 100 days of conquering her fears and talked about it. Would highly recommend just YouTubing her or looking her up. And one of the things that really stuck out to me that I've been thinking about a lot since then is the difference between compare and contrast. Meaning we can compare ourselves if we're new, if we've been there for 5 years, and we can say, I've been at this company for a year. This person's been here for 5 years. What do I have to offer? That's compare. In contrast, we can actually say, I have experience here. This is what I have to offer. When I started at 6 Cents, I'd never sold ABM. I'd never sold a sales solution. And 6 Cents is such an incredible company that ties into pipeline and opportunities and things that I had really knowledge about, but had just scratched the surface. And I felt so much imposter syndrome. And honestly, sometimes I still do every quarter because we work at a new company every quarter. And when I feel that, I say, but I can provide something. My first week at 6 Cents, I was like, no one's taking notes for team meetings. How are they getting information circulated? It's something so small, but it's so impactful. And it was a contrast that I could offer and see as someone new. And the amount of people that were like, this is so helpful that someone documented this and shared it. And now we can have this housed in other places for new hires that come on board. It's such a small thing. But think about that impact. I will say, in week 1 through week 4, I had no idea what I was typing. I was like, dark funnel, ABM, all these things, predictive model, AI, looking up AI. And I had to ask questions along the way because I'm going to be taking the notes regardless. So why not share them? I would challenge myself in the beginning too. If I didn't know a question or if someone didn't know on the call, I'd be like, let me go find it for them during the call and give it to them afterward, right? That's self-starting, that's contrasting. And I think we all have something that we can bring to the table, no matter if we're just starting pre-sales. We've been in pre-sales for 10 years. Andy on my team was a band teacher last year, 6 months ago, right? And he is crushing it. He's selling so many opportunities, and he also just constantly has so much to bring to the table because he's thinking about ways that we can do new things, and he takes feedback and he's implementing it and thinking through everything all the time. And I know he feels certain ways at times too. He has that imposter syndrome, just like I do and did. But it's how can I work hard and be the contrast?
I think this is so important because imposter syndrome, I think, is really prominent for a lot of us. Sometimes, it's higher during certain periods of our life or during certain transitions than others, but it is kind of a reoccurring thing that I think whenever we enter a new space, get a new role, transition companies, get promoted, that it can definitely peek its head. And I love that this framework, or kind of how you've described between contrasting versus comparing, because I think we always default to the comparing. Well, they have more experience than me, they have more expertise, or they know more than me. But that contrast of identifying sort of the gap where you kind of shine or can bring or fill in the gap as a way of standing out and adding value is such an incredible way to think about this.
I think we have to let ourselves live in the imposter syndrome for a minute. And then I always ask myself, is this reality or perception? And then I say, this isn't reality. This is what I'm telling myself. And then it's, okay, progress, not perfection. And there's still moments and times when I have to present things. I'm like, I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't know if I'm doing this right. I don't know if it's going to land. We just have to not let that keep us from doing things, right? Because that fear is temporary, ultimately. But if we don't do it, the regret is permanent. I think a lot of people come and have that hesitation. And one of my favorite moments at Sixth Sense is we have an ERG called Familia that I lead. And there was a moment where an AE looked at each one of us and said, you belong. And what a cool feeling for myself, where I constantly feel like I kind of just fall into opportunities. It's half like, I think I want to do this. And then it happens. Then I'm like, do I regret this? Maybe, I don't know. But it's being in that space and just, again, knowing you belong and having the confidence in yourself and bring your own energy, essentially, is one of our CS leaders here, Janine, says.
I love that. So as we get towards the end, if someone were to come up to you and say, what can I go do today or tomorrow to invest in others? What would you tell them?
People are there. So many people need help right now. You just really have to extend the branch. So I try and post on LinkedIn for opportunities that we have at Sixth Sense because I'm continuing to hire. So good plug there. But the amount of candidates that reach out to me and just want to break into pre-sales or have an opportunity to discuss, honestly, it's overwhelming. I think I have at least 10 or 20 inbox messages from people daily, which one, hopefully, sorry if I've ignored you, shed some light on why I haven't responded. I'm not ignoring you, I promise. But two, it's like, if you offer your hand, there's almost people like, I think of Hercules, like there's going to be people dragging you into the pit to like join them. And so I think what we need to be, again, coming back to Brene Brown, just like open and honest about what we can help with and being clearly defined about it, because I have the opening. So a lot of people are saying, oh, I need the job. Maybe I want to talk to you because of that. Or, hey, I actually just want to learn outside of that. Those are very different expectations. And so I'm very open and honest where I can be around where I can help people. Sometimes it is like, I can't offer you this job, unfortunately, but here's some people to connect with who have done it. Here's PreSales Academy. Here's all these different resources that are available to you. And we all have to not be a village. We need to be a country right now, because there are so many people who need help. And I think if we commit to like helping one person a month mentor or just share our experience, I think how much better will the world be?
I love that perspective. I know in my own journey, the mentors and coaches that have invested in me have catapulted me into the career that I have today, made all the difference. So I love that perspective. And I agree. Let's be a country and reach out and help others. It's incredible how much farther we can all go with that kind of perspective.
I don't think anyone gets to where they are alone. I know I didn't.
Well, Sidney, I can't tell you how thankful I am that you were willing to come on this podcast and share your experience. This has just been so incredible. And I appreciate the insights and even the level of preparation of bringing your own point of view to this conversation, because it's definitely so important. And what a great way to wrap up the series. So thank you again for making the time.
Yeah, of course. Talk about imposter syndrome. Just kidding. But hopefully everyone enjoyed. Definitely feel free to reach out with any questions. But Mattie, thank you for being an amazing host and sharing your experience as well. And hopefully this helps someone out there.
Absolutely. Alrighty, folks, that's officially a wrap in our Becoming a World-Class SE series. Thank you for listening, sharing, and engaging with this series over the last couple of months. And I also want to thank our incredible guests, Munir Hussain, Brandy Anderson, Adam Lazara, Maria Latt, Ron Whitson, and Sidney Gomez for sharing their stories, experiences, and giving us tactical advice so we can go be empowered to take one step closer to becoming world-class. I also want to thank James Kakis for giving me the opportunity to put together and host this series. In other news, we're hosting the State of Diversity Summit on Tuesday, May 9th. You definitely don't want to miss this. We have incredible panelists and speakers lined up for this event. To register, go to presalescollective.com. Hope to see you there, and thanks again for listening to the podcast.